What is up, y'all? Welcome on back to another review. It's finally October. Every year, I typically review nothing but horror movies throughout the month of October for Horror in Review. I don't really have a specific genre that I'm checking out this year, so I'm just reviewing some random ass horror movies throughout the month of October. And what better series to start off with than It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, especially with the prequel series coming out in a couple of weeks. I thought this was a great time to revisit the first two movies. If you have not seen Chapter 1, this is your chance to pause, come back once you have caught up. Go watch it. It's on HBO Max right now. Like I said, the prequel series, Welcome to Derry, is coming out in a couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the perfect time to go check out 1 and 2 before the prequel series. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. It Chapter 1, when it first came out, it was a movie that I was absolutely in love with. And there was a period in time where I watched it so much. Like I loved it that much that I was watching it like once every couple of months. I really fell in love with this movie. And then after about seeing it, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 times, something like that, I started to get a little bit bored by the entire movie just because it kind of outstayed its welcome for me. Now, I have not seen this movie in a couple of years, so this was actually a good time to revisit it because, distance makes the heart grow fonder, and I've kind of recaptured my love for this movie, and it's for many different reasons why I really enjoy this one. And I think I've only seen Chapter 2 like once, maybe twice, so it's gonna be interesting to see how my opinion changes on that second viewing of part 2. But as far as part 1 goes, I absolutely love this. I think from beginning to end, it is an entertaining horror movie, and it's very hard to make a horror movie where you just fall in love with so many different characters. Usually in a horror movie, for the most part, you fall in love with the main character, maybe even a side character, and that's really all you ever get. This one, they were able to nail just about all of these child characters, and I thought it was a home run, to be honest with you. I think there are a couple of standout performances within this movie, and the first one that I want to mention is Richie. Phil Wolfhard, he was the kid that was in Stranger Things. I thought he was one of the best characters in Stranger Things, and he does the same thing here. It's just everything that comes out of that kid's mouth is just pure gold. A lot of the times he's used for levity in some of these tense moments, and I'm completely down with it. I think with a horror movie, the one thing that you have to have a little bit of levity thrown in there, but not like MCU Marvel style humor where it's so forced. This one just seems really organic because, well, this is how like normal kids talk for the most part. Like he cusses just enough, not too much where it's a little bit over the top. I think his performance specifically really just brings that levity to this movie that is very much needed. But at the same time, he gets moments throughout the movie where he's able to show more of his vulnerable side because he's definitely that kid that likes to talk the talk, but when it comes to actually walking the walk, he's not as strong as he portrays to be. So I think throughout the movie, they do a really good job of developing his character, and he's one of the standout performances in the movie for sure. And then we have Jaden Martell as Bill. I thought he did a great job throughout the entire movie. His character is really the core. It's really the emotional center of this story. You have to have one of these characters really anchor the story in a very human way, and his grief is really at the center of this story where he's trying to deal with the loss of his brother Georgie, and he doesn't want to accept it, and that's really what he's afraid of throughout the entire movie is, finally learning that Georgie is dead or moving on without Georgie. It's just a very human, very emotional center for the movie, and it keeps the movie grounded and in a great way. I thought Eddie's character was good. I enjoyed most of the scenes with him. We also have Ben, which he didn't have a ton of scenes, but I also felt like he had this emotional connection throughout the movie where you kind of relate to him a little bit. He's after this girl Beverly. He's really interested in her. He likes her a lot, and he sees one of his friends, Bill, who she has this connection with, and you can relate to that because that's stuff that as a kid you can go through. So to me, all of those relationships, all of those connections between these characters felt so real. It felt so genuine. Sophia Lillis as Beverly was really great. Loved her emotional character arc throughout this entire movie. And I gotta say, and we'll kind of jump into this in just a minute. I may be jumping ahead of myself. And that is, this movie, especially her character and her relationship with her father, made me so fucking uncomfortable. Mike and Stanley, probably my two least favorite characters out of the Losers Club. And I will say that I like Mike more than Stanley. It's just we didn't get enough of Mike throughout this movie. I feel like his character arc and what they were trying to do with his character, I really enjoyed that. I wanted more of his character for sure. I like how he interacted with the other losers. He's really just there in the background and doesn't do a whole lot. Now Stanley, he's in it a little bit more, but I just didn't really care for his character arc or what they were going for with him. I just don't think they really explored his fears to the point where you really understand it. I personally have not read the book, and I will eventually, but I'm assuming that the book dives a little bit deeper into those fears that he has. This movie, it's very superficial, and you just can't relate to this character a whole lot when I think there's a lot there that you could latch onto. It's just for whatever reason, they just put him on the back burner and never really developed his character. Any scene that he's really in, I'm not going to say he's a bad actor or anything like that. I just think those scenes are just not as good as the rest of the movie. And that brings me to the other highlight of this movie, and that is Bill Skarsgård as Pennywise. If you were to come up with a list of the most iconic characters in horror, period, I think Pennywise has to be in that conversation. But if you take it a step further and you go with the best performances of those characters, Bill Skarsgård has to be in that conversation. I fucking loved his interpretation of Pennywise. It was really frightening. Not in a sense that it did a lot of jump scares or I had nightmares or anything like that. When you look at the vibes and the atmosphere within a horror movie, I think this performance, this iteration of Pennywise is a home run. I think it is a truly terrifying take on this character. And when you compare his performance to that of Tim Curry's performance in the limited series, vastly different takes on Pennywise for sure. When I think Pennywise, I think Bill Skarsgård. To me, that is going to be this connection between these two characters until the end of time. It's this perfect combination of an actor that was just meant for this role. In the same way that Heath Ledger was this perfect combination for the Joker. When I think Joker, I think Heath Ledger. And I think moving forward, when I think Pennywise, I'm going to think Bill Skarsgård. I think this performance was just an absolute home run, phenomenal performance. Which leads me to my final thoughts on this movie. And that is it scary or not? And it really depends on what you go to a horror movie for. If you watch a horror movie and you think that if it doesn't actually make you jump in your seat, then this is probably not that movie for you. If you think about atmosphere, vibes, and visuals, I think this movie is 100% for you. I really love all of the visuals within this movie. Are a lot of the visuals CGI? Yes. It does go more to the special effects side rather than the practical effects side that I prefer. But I don't think this movie looks bad at all. I don't think that the special effects are bad. This movie came out 8 years ago, and I think it looks just as good as it did back in 2017. It definitely looks way better than any of the Marvel movies out there, or really any of the superhero movies that we get nowadays. I think this is definitely one of the best looking horror movies that we've seen in the last 10, 15, maybe 20 years. I think it really holds up in 2025. So I'm not too mad about the special effects. It doesn't take me out of the movie whatsoever, and it creates a lot of anxiety. It puts you on the edge of your seat a majority of the movie. And when it's not giving you that anxious feeling, you're having these moments of levity with the characters. It's this beautiful combination of giving us these slow character development moments with some levity, along with these terrifying visuals throughout the movie. And I think they're able to sprinkle that in just perfectly. The pacing is really fucking good. I've always said that a horror movie should not be over 2 hours, and if it does, it better be one of the best paced movies ever, because a horror movie, you really lose some of that tension over the course of 2 hours, that if it starts getting into the 2.5 hour range, you kind of get used to the tension, and it just doesn't have that much of effect on me personally. This one, 2 hours and 12 minutes, I think it's right over that threshold. But again, we're getting enough of these characters, we're developing a majority of them, and then they're giving us some of those crazy visuals with Pennywise, and then with each kid, he's kind of feasting on their fears, making them more scared. And I really fucking digged how this movie was paced, and how it just sprinkles in, like, again, the moments of developing the characters along with scaring the shit out of us. But for me personally, I really do love atmospheric horror. It's one of the reasons why I love The Witch so much. It's why it's my favorite horror movie of all time. Yes, there are no jump scares in that movie. It doesn't really show you anything super scary. A lot of times you don't really see anything, but it's the atmosphere of that movie that I love the most. And this is obviously not the same atmosphere as The Witch, but in terms of the visuals, the performances from Bill Skarsgård and all those kids combined, I think the atmosphere of this movie is just on a different level than most other horror movies out there. When this movie really dives into the horrors that are super relatable, that's when it's at its scariest. But I will say this, there are several moments in this movie that I just find super uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. From again, I mentioned it a little while ago, Beverly and her dad, this moment where every time that the dad is there, he's calling her his little girl, and he mentions that she looks like a boy now, and hey, you're always gonna be my little girl, right? And it's just, it irks me in a way, and it makes me feel so gross watching it. It takes the horror to a different level to me, and it's just super uncomfortable to watch all of that kind of unfold. So, like I said, this movie kind of dives into more of the atmospheric horror, and then some of the sci-fi visuals for sure, and it's able to blend those very well, and it just makes me uncomfortable watching this movie, which is why I think it is a really great horror movie. Guys, what did you think about It Chapter 1? Where does it rank on your list of horror movies? Do you think it's a great adaptation of the book or not? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're there, hit that like and subscribe button. That's really going to help us grow this channel. And then all the links to our social media accounts are down below, as well to our Patreon. We'd greatly appreciate if you went there and supported us. Either way, I appreciate y'all joining me for this review, and I will catch y'all next week on Chapter 2. Laters.